Hi, it's Suzannah B. I'm holding a birth certificate from my maternal grandfather from 1904. He was very poor, and at the turn of the century, if you were a very poor family, you had your children at home. You couldn't afford a hospital. So he and all his brothers and sisters were born here on Ludlow Street. This is 92 Ludlow Street, and here we are in Ludlow, where there's been a ton of development. Especially when you get close to houses. See, you wanted to know how I got into activism, and that's a pretty amazing story. I think I always was someone who cared and always did things to try and help people. It's just in my nature. But when NYU made up their mind they were going to buy St. Anne's Church at 112 12th Street and tear it down, and the post office, the United States Postal Service, owned the air rights over this church, and they sold it to NYU without notifying the state of New York as they were legally obligated to. I even called up the State Attorney General's Office of Environmental Crime and talked to them. They said we'd have a case, but we'd have to go sue both the post office and NYU. So at that point, that's when I became an activist. So all I know is it just radically changed my life, and apparently I've touched a lot of other people's lives. You know, I'm moved that I've touched so many people's lives, but I would say if you are an activist, the way to do it is with a group. Have lawyers consult you if you can. Norman Siegel's like in my corner, and if I need to talk to him about anything, I feel that I can go to him. So it's the more legal advice and support you can get, the better. And I started blogging, and then eventually I threw out my Dell, thank God, and I got a Mac that had video capacity, and I took one-on-one lessons about how to make a movie and put it on YouTube, and that radically changed my life in terms of being an activist and communicating to people important events or situations that were happening. So when Apple came out with an iPhone where you could take your phone and film video out on the street and post it right up onto YouTube live from the street, it radically changed my life because I happened to film Christine Quinn and her supporters, which is NYU and the Villager, turning away press, including New York One. A senior, we fought for about a half hour, 20 minutes. We finally got him in. He was in a wheelchair. And then there were many seniors that stood online. And you know, because you filmed it, we filmed it, they were turned away. But all Christine Quinn's people got in. So I filmed that and put it on YouTube.
So Norman, could you say that again about the show that was showing up and not being turned away? And then I'm going to close. Wait 1 sec. Let me hit
all the people who showed up here tonight should be thanked for participating in democracy.
And basically, because of YouTube, the press wouldn't cover any competition of candidates, and they wouldn't cover voter anger. So I was the first person to get on YouTube, maybe the only person to get on YouTube and say, hey world, the press is not reporting the truth, that there's an enormous amount of voter anger. And I predicted very early that Mike Bloomberg might not win. So people contacting me from all over the world to here in New York because of my YouTubes and blogging, and they want to talk to me and they want to tell me their stories, and they want to join me in doing what I've been doing, and I say all the power to you. And the more of us that can be united, the better. It's like not such a good idea to do it on your own. It's better to do it with a group, and because there's power in a group. So I'm hoping that with YouTube and blogging that we can make changes, even just exposing corruption by using our video cameras to show what's happening as it unfolds, because the press doesn't always do that, and so now we need to do that. Hi, I want to tell you a story. Before I really recognized how destructive and harmful Mike Bloomberg truly was, but I was beginning to get the picture. I had a letter published in AM New York called Destroying Old New York. I did talk about the tsunami of community question development and infrastructure concerns. I cited 120 East 12th Street, St. Anne's Church, and I talked about infrastructure concerns for 12th Street, but citywide I was concerned for the safety of New York because it was way too rapid, the development. So after I got the letter published, I sent it to all these different political people, including Dan Doctoroff, the fire department, and I also dropped off a copy of the letter to Con Edison, and I told them that I was really scared for our safety and we needed to tell the mayor to slow down. I said to Con Ed, would you please tell the mayor to slow down? After a month later, the New York Times in their national section, had a piece about the danger of infrastructure for an entire country because it's so old. And in it, it said, in the article, it said that we could have an infrastructure break that resembled a terror attack. So I sent that as well to Dan Doctorow from the fire department. The fire department, the commissioner had one of his senior guys write me back, Ms. Troy, don't worry. Dan Doctorow emailed me back. Had a woman from DEP email me back, Ms. Troy, here's our website, don't worry. And then after that, we had the steam pipe explosion. And what I really believe, it's my theory, is that our Con Ed bills are so much higher because all of us are paying for infrastructure expansion for the megadorms, NYU megadorms, New York Law put up a megadorm on East 3rd Street next to the Hells Angels. You have Cooper Union with a megadorm and all this expansion. Cooper Union's done its own busting. Hotels and supersized condos that bust through zoning. So we have all this infrastructure expansion that we're paying for, we the people of New York, but including Con Ed. Con Edison cannot keep up with it. So you have Con Ed, a lot of times what you see is that they've hired workers who are not even Con Ed workers because they can't keep up with this expansion. I really want to talk about that. Thank you. My roots were naturally here on the Lower East Side, literally, and to see what they did to the East Village. I went to bed in the East Village and woke up in a bad Xerox of Midtown, turning into a bad Xerox of Dubai, thanks to Mike Bloomberg and his socialite and mega millionaire city planner, Amanda, the people's burden. So they radically made over and it was a makeover and takeover of our neighborhoods, including NYU and Cooper Union and real estate developers and Donald Trump at Spring and Barrett, where a construction worker died, and Uptown Columbia University. It was imminent domain abuse, the entire neighborhood of Manhattanville, out in Brooklyn, and even the New York Times building is said to be in imminent domain abuse. So, I mean, so many people moved. They had to move, or they just couldn't afford the neighborhood. They left. And that's all under Mike Bloomberg and Amanda Burden, mass displacement. It's really horrible. So I'm just glad I could grab a camera, and I recommend anybody that can. It's like, you know, you can buy a camera for under $100 that are YouTube friendly, so you can film and post on YouTube, and you should carry it with you at all times here in New York City because you never know what you can see. And if you film something, it can make a difference. So, you know, it's like keep the faith and believe that you can make a difference. Thank you. Hi, it's Suzannah Troy. I'm at a Crane's breakfast for the Deputy Goldsmith, the new Republican deputy that Mike Bloomberg just hired. So I walked up and I shook his hand and I asked him, you know, why at this late point in the game would he hire you unless he's running for president? Why hire a Republican? And he's like, I don't know. But I said, do you think he's running for president? And he said, no. And I said, you as deputy, what are you going to do about infrastructure? There's water pipes exploding. And he was like, thank you, thank you. And I said, what are you going to do for the people of New York? And he was like, thank you, thank you. And the way he said thank you was more like the most polite F you that I've ever gotten. Very polite, but it was like, you didn't give me any answers except for thank you when I asked him. I hope we're going to help the people of New York.
Okay.
Hi, it's Suzannah B. Troy. I used to live right up the street for the last 20 years, and I would see Jim Mosaic Man Power and his dog Jesse Jane, and he'd be making art. He always needed money, and so I helped support him. I got him a bunch of mosaic, a lot of mosaic, so he put my name here. So it's a way as an artist being a patron of another artist. That's like an outdoor museum of the Lower East Side. That's what his mosaics are. They tell the story of New York City, the Lower East Side, politicians, entertainers, rock and roll stars, and the history of our country. If you look carefully all throughout, there's an outdoor museum courtesy of Jim Mosaic Man Power.
Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, talking about a revolution. It sounds